Hello and good evening. It is about 3 in the morning, and I am sitting in my closet. It's very clean now. I don't know why I've never done it before, but I just straightened. I kind of organized the things that were in here, and there's a lot of room. I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor. The door is closed, and there's a candle up on the shelf that's giving me light. I know that things have been quiet on my channel recently. I still do not have internet, but I will probably reactivate that in maybe a week or two. Many things have happened lately, and my life is very different than it has ever been. And I don't say that in a negative sense. Certain things are interesting. I find myself once again becoming. I hope that you can't hear the neighbor's air conditioning. It's getting very warm here, and in the nighttime the ACs all run, and in the daytime, I'm sure if people are home those are running too, but I have my windows and doors open, and it's pretty noisy just in general at my apartment complex. So this seems as good of time as any to speak with you. I woke from an interesting dream. I think the light that I used when I wrote the dream down has interfered with me going back to sleep. So here I am to speak to you instead. One of the things that has happened to me is I find myself becoming very resensitized to things. I've changed or improved my diet again recently, and not to imply that it was bad in the first place, because it wasn't. But it's better now. And that, combined with a couple supplementations that I'm doing that seem to be really helping. The combination of those things has kind of thrown my body back into a pretty sensitive state. Sensitive to things that it considers unnatural or it doesn't like. I've always been moderately sensitive to chemicals and things. I don't care for those in a general sense. And that's present loud and clear. But also I've become a lot more easily perturbed by simple things such as light at nighttime, in particular strong blue light like in LEDs and things. I guess that was something that's never particularly bothered me before. Even the light that I used to write down that dream, it was just an LED light, and I've used it plenty of times in the past, even in the middle of the night, without too much issue. I don't think I've had a very high quality of sleep in the past. For one thing, it was always a little bit of a challenge for me to get to sleep, and I've been a very light sleeper historically throughout my life. I was always envious of the people who could sleep anywhere, through anything. I was a little envious of that because it was very much the opposite for me. And it seemed a luxury to have and hold sleep as well as those people did. Lately, I think my sleep has been improving when I take steps to make sure that I'm doing it well. And part of that is avoiding the blue lights after it gets dark, which, in a general sense, is pretty easy to accomplish. But now that I'm working evenings again, I'm in a brightly lit fluorescent office working on computers after it gets dark a little bit. And that has interrupted my sleep. It's okay if I don't. I find that it's okay once I get home if I avoid big screens and things for a little bit, and then I go to sleep afterwards. I went to the store and got these little tea light candles, and I turn off all my lights in the apartment, and I have 3 or 4 of these little candles scattered throughout it, and it's kind of fun. I like these candles, actually. It's a very romantic, soft light. It's very nice. And I leave those until I go to sleep. It's very old-fashioned. I bought these blue filtering light glasses that I will use at work. They told me that I couldn't wear the ones that looked like sunglasses with an orange or red or yellow tint on the lenses. They told me that I couldn't wear those unless I got a doctor's note, and that's inconvenient for me to get. So I bought some that are clear. They're supposed to be decent. They were a little more expensive than I wanted to pay, but hopefully those will at least help a little bit. And if they don't, I can just send them back and maybe try to finagle a note from a doctor. But like I said, I find myself becoming more and more affected by things, which is bittersweet, I guess. Like that blue light that I use to write the dream down has never bothered me before, but I think it bothers me now. It's nice to acknowledge because I think in a general sense it's a positive sign. It's a sign that my body's reorganizing itself and getting into a better state of health and well-being. But it's bitter. The bitter part of this is that we don't live in a very I don't think it's fully accurate to say we don't live in a very natural world. But I think, maybe stated better, it would be that we have diverged from a lot of our original or natural ways of living. Our biological origins. I recently watched, they released a 9-part documentary series about human longevity, and the people that made it, they asked the question, what makes people live so long? What are they doing in their lives to encourage long life and a healthy life? Because no one really wants to live long if they're not enjoying themselves, if their quality of life isn't high. I remember, I don't quite remember where I encountered it, but someone, when in a discussion, tried to say that people's lifespan in general, on average, is getting shorter these days. And whoever they were talking to retaliated and said, no, it's getting longer with the advancement of medicine and our human technologies. We're able to increase these people's lifespans. And the person said, well, no, that's not the case. I mean, people aren't living longer, they're dying longer. Which I think is true in many people's cases, because we can prolong those with serious acute medical conditions. We can prolong their life, but we don't necessarily better it, unless they do that themselves, if it's possible. So these people went around and they interviewed many centurions, which are people who live or have lived over the age of 100, and several other just fairly aged people, elders, I guess you could say. They interviewed them to see about their life and what they did, how they lived in the past, how they were raised, and how they grew up. And they also interviewed maybe something like 100 different medical experts in varying fields, and got the science, the cutting edge research and technology information about health and what it is to thrive. Each of the 9 episodes in this series were about a different aspect, a different facet of health. For example, one episode might be dealing with the digestive system, gut health, and eating, and another one deals with general lifestyle and like exercise and activities. One of them deal with community and gratitude. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but it's very interesting to learn about these things. It seems to me that the way these older people have lived, the way that we were, quote unquote, designed to live, is very simple. And it's very quiet. It's a very peaceful life. And I find myself in a similar life these days. Not because I'm trying to desperately or obsessively prolong my life. My goal in doing this was never to try to live to be very old. This is just the way that I seem acclimated to live. I'm living this way because it's comfortable to me. It feels natural, not only in the sense of how I might be biologically suited, but also in the sense of it's natural to my own expression of life. So it's pleasant. But I find that the more I live in this sort of life, the less I am able to kind of bridge the gap into the way the rest of everyone lives, or at least the majority of people around me. And that's okay. I still find it very difficult to sleep in the daytime. My body does not like to sleep when there's light out. No matter what time I go to bed, I usually wake up very early. Not through setting alarms, not through trying to. It's just when the sun comes up, my body likes to join it. And I'm fine with that. I like the mornings. But this can be inconvenient if, for whatever reason, I've had a long night and I've gone to bed late. It doesn't matter how little sleep I got. I'm awake at near dawn, sometimes at first light. And it's okay. I'm very capable of making it through my days without getting too tired. Sometimes I'll go through waves of sleepiness and I'll lay down. I'll try to sleep. And I can get fairly close. I can get myself into a state very close to sleep. It's definitely an altered state of consciousness, and I'm not fully awake. I wouldn't call it asleep either, though, because I still retain awareness of what's going on and where I am, but I'm partially in a dream or I'm in some level of hypnagogia, and my thoughts are very bizarre and abstract, which is also fun. And being in that state for any amount of time does seem to alleviate exhaustion. But I'm not sure if it's any better or worse. If anything, maybe I'd venture to say it's worse than actual prolonged sleep. But it does its job. So I suppose part of the reason that I'm bringing all of this up, that I've discussed this with you, is just to explain kind of what's been going on in my life and why it has been very quiet. My whole life is quiet. And I don't particularly have a lot to say to anyone in a general sense. I don't know how this will sound to anyone else, but I'm not unhappy. I'm very calm right now, so I think I'm speaking very deliberately and slowly, but also I know that this is a recording and I want to be as peaceful as I can. I haven't really been answering comments on my channel because it's very much a pain to get to the comments on my phone. On the computer, if I click from the email where a comment is, it will just link me straight to the comment and I can respond very easily. But my phone doesn't do that for whatever reason, and even if I click the link from the email, I still have to scroll through every previous comment to find whatever I was going to answer. And they're not always at the top or the bottom. It's not quite that simple, because YouTube mobile just works differently than YouTube non-mobile on a computer. That's another thing that's been kind of irritating to me lately. I seem to be getting more sensitive to it than I've ever been. Is EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. They're unavoidable now. Like, you can't really get out of them. You can. There are places in the world that are designated EMF free zones, but they're not really simple or easy to get to for an average person. And most people don't really need to be in a place like that. Like, those places are for people with extreme sensitivities who just can't bear to be in the soup of signals that are permeating basically everywhere in the modern world. And I'm not quite that far. Hopefully I won't get that far. I don't know if that's going to be the case. but I am becoming more sensitive to it than I have been before. And I can see this in a few ways. There's a condition called tinnitus. Some people call it tinnitus. And that's a ringing of the ears, a very high-pitched squealing noise. And I have always had very sensitive ears. I accredit that in a large part to why I can make music, and to why sound is so natural to me in the way that I navigate the world. And I think because of these sensitive ears, I have always had tinnitus. Always. And when I say always, not only do I mean throughout my entire life, but I mean it's almost always happening. As in, the ringing doesn't stop. Even right now, it's going on. And some people, this really bothers them. Like, they can't function and it just drives them insane. But I've become so acclimated to it that it's like I can function just fine, even when my ears are ringing like this. In a sense, it's all I've ever really known. So I had to get used to it, or else I would just be a puddle of constant anxiety. But I do find that in areas where there are higher EMF, or if I'm particularly active in using devices that send off those frequencies, the ringing gets worse, and it does get louder, and that's less fun to me because it can surpass my normal constant level and that can be irritating sometimes. For me, there's like a base level of ringing that is tolerable. It's just what I'm used to. But I can get to states where it surpasses that, to where it's actually loud and a little oppressive. And that's not always pleasant, but it's manageable. So in my own apartment, I'm with my new quiet life. I unplug everything that's not in use, including all of my appliances except the oven. I can't get to the oven plug very easily, so I don't. I should just pull it back and unplug it because I rarely use the oven. But everything else is unplugged when I'm not using it, including my Wi-Fi when I had Wi-Fi. But it's not on right now. When I turn it back on, I think I'm just going to buy an Ethernet cord and use a wired connection, so I don't have to have the wireless on. But the unfortunate side of things is that even with the way that I'm living, with all of the changes that I've made for myself, I'm still very much enmeshed in an environment, in a very close-knit community, close-knit more proximity-wise, in a distant sense, than the amiability of my neighbors. So no matter what I do, certain things are unavoidable just because I live so close to people. And that's okay. I do what I can, and I'm comfortable with the way things are for now. But I don't have a lot to say in general. And it hasn't been very convenient to make content because of that. And there are more details, but they aren't worth getting into. But again, I don't want to I don't want to portray the idea that I'm unhappy or that I'm miserable in any sense. I'm quite comfortable and quite enjoying my peace, my peaceful ringing, and everything is okay. So hopefully this will explain a little more of where I am at. Oh, I also recently released another EP. I keep intending to make a little preview video of that for my other channel, but I also haven't done that. But that's just because I forget. And hopefully I have enough cell phone data to upload that and this. The theme of this new EP was I think it would be a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but the music itself is fine. And the few people that have listened to it have enjoyed it. So, all is well. I am not sure what the future holds. I am not sure where I will end up or what I will be doing. But what is likely is that I will be somewhere very comfortable, very quiet, with a smile on my face, and enjoying the simple gratitude of being alive. I hope that you, in your life, can find something similar. I don't think the way that I live is reasonable or acceptable for everyone, and that's fine. I make no claims as to the usefulness of anything that I do for someone else. But I hope that in whatever way that you need it, you will be able to find your own happiness, your own little groove, your niche, your way of living that best suits you and makes you the happiest that you can be. Because you do deserve that. I believe this. And I would find it very pleasing if you found your happiness, if you found your simple life, even if your simple life is scores more complex than mine. If it's simple to you, then that's all you need. Your simplicity isn't necessarily simplicity itself. It's just whatever manner of living you don't have to think excessively about. Whatever manner of life you find comfortable. That's what's important. And I hope that you are able to find that. As always, if you need anything, you are free to reach out to me in a comment or an email. Emails are easier for me to respond to at this time. Hopefully, I will be able to get back to answering some comments in the future. And for the record, there are certain types of comments that I receive most often on specific videos that I don't tend to respond to at all, just because I don't see a use in it. Certain exchanges have happened enough to where I don't need to continue to have them. I don't think they serve me or the other party. And when people are being hostile or unnecessarily aggressive towards me, even sometimes, occasionally, belittling or condescending, I don't see a use in really furthering that. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel hurt or offended or attacked personally. But at the same time, I have no need to attack back. So there's nowhere to go. If I just had responded to it with something like, okay, or I'm sorry you feel that way, or I don't know, whatever. It seems passive-aggressive. And that's not the way I feel. People are entitled to their own perspectives and opinions, even if they don't align with mine, or even if they're expressed in a way that's not very compassionate, I suppose. So to them, and to those who leave very general things, or things which I choose not to respond to for any other reason, I don't know what I would say. I guess that's too general to give an overarching response. But I do read most of the comments that I get. I wonder if some people would change their mind about what they wrote if they knew that I was going to read it. because I do. Usually I just don't give indication of that. If you really need feedback from me or a response for whatever reason, you need to email me. So, in conclusion, to wrap things up, once again, I will wish you the absolute best life that you can find and glean for yourself. This will look different for everyone, of course. But you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be comfortable. And you deserve to enjoy yourself. I hope that you will take the time and make the effort to try to find your own happiness if you don't already have it. It's always a valuable pursuit. This is your one life. You were given this opportunity to live, to have an existence. And you don't know when it's going to end, but you know it will. That is the state, the circumstances that all of us find ourselves within. And I hope, I truly pray, that you won't run away from that you will acknowledge it and decide for yourself that you don't have time to waste. There is no use in chasing ghosts or fictions or fantasies that do not serve you. I hope you will change your tune, if that is your tune, and you will begin to seek only what serves your joy. Take control of your life and make it brilliant. Good night and sleep well. I wish you all the best.